The room was silent except for the faint hum of hospital machines when the billionaire froze at the doorway. He had everything money could buy: power, influence, private jets, but at that moment, none of it mattered. His disabled daughter lay still on the bed, her small hand resting in his palm, and for the first time in years, he felt completely helpless. What happened next would change all of their lives forever. Before we dive into this emotional journey, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why hope still matters, and your support helps us share more moments that can touch hearts around the world. Arif Malik was a single father who lived in a narrow rented apartment at the edge of the city. Every morning before sunrise, he woke up to make breakfast for his 8-year-old son, Ryan, before heading to work as a hospital janitor. Life had not been kind to Arif. His wife had passed away years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a child and a mountain of responsibilities. But despite the exhaustion, despite the quiet loneliness that followed him every night, Arif never complained. He believed that if he stayed honest, kind, and hardworking, life would one day reward him in ways money could not. Ryan was his strength. The boy had inherited his mother's gentle eyes and his father's stubborn optimism. Every evening, they shared simple meals and talked about school, dreams, and the future. Arif often promised his son that one day, things would be better, even if he wasn't sure how. One rainy evening, as Arif was mopping the hallway outside the hospital's private wing, he noticed a woman sitting on the floor, her face buried in her hands. She was dressed elegantly, but her shoulders shook with quiet sobs. Arif hesitated, unsure if he should interfere, but something in her pain felt familiar. Slowly, he approached and asked if she was okay. The woman looked up, her eyes red and swollen. She was Mira Kapoor, wife of billionaire industrialist Vikram Kapoor. Their daughter, Anaya, had been disabled since birth due to a rare neurological condition. Despite the best doctors, the most expensive treatments, and years of effort, Anaya had never spoken or walked. Mira's voice trembled as she explained that the doctors had just told them there was nothing more they could do. Arif listened quietly. He didn't offer medical advice or false hope. He simply sat beside her and said something simple: sometimes miracles don't come from machines or medicines. Sometimes they come from patience and love. Mira didn't know why, but those words stayed with her. Over the next few weeks, Arif's work often brought him near Anaya's room. He noticed that the girl reacted differently when he was around. Her eyes followed him. Once, when he softly hummed a lullaby he used to sing to Ryan, Anaya's fingers twitched. Arif mentioned this to Mira, who at first dismissed it as coincidence. But when she watched closely, she saw it too. With permission, Arif began spending a few minutes each day talking to Anaya, telling her simple stories about his life, his son, and the little joys of everyday moments. He treated her not as a patient, but as a child who deserved warmth and normalcy. Slowly, incredibly, Anaya began to respond. A blink. A faint smile. Tiny movements that doctors had not seen in years. Vikram Kapoor was skeptical at first. He trusted science, not emotions. But when he saw his daughter react to Arif's presence, something cracked inside him. The man who controlled billion-dollar deals felt powerless yet hopeful at the same time. Doctors were called again. Tests were run. They confirmed that Anaya's neural responses were improving. The breakthrough came one afternoon when Arif brought Ryan with him to the hospital. The boy sat beside Anaya and began drawing pictures, explaining each one with innocent excitement. Suddenly, Anaya let out a soft sound, her first attempt at a word. Mira collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Years of pain, fear, and silent prayers poured out in that moment. From that day on, therapy combined medical treatment with emotional connection. Progress was slow but real. Anaya learned to communicate through gestures, then words. She took assisted steps. Each milestone felt like a miracle. Vikram offered Arif money, a house, and a high-paying job. Arif thanked him but refused most of it. He only asked for one thing, that no parent, rich or poor, ever be made to feel hopeless when love still existed. Touched and humbled, Vikram funded a center for children with disabilities, where emotional care was treated as equally important as medical science, and Arif was invited to help lead it. The story ended not with wealth, but with gratitude. Mira often said that the real miracle wasn't just Anaya's recovery, it was the reminder that humanity still existed in the most unexpected places. Arav returned home each night to his son, knowing that kindness had changed lives far beyond his own. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, all it takes is one act of compassion to create a miracle, and by supporting this channel, you help keep those stories alive. The night after Anaya spoke her first sound, Arav could not sleep. He lay on the thin mattress beside his son, staring at the cracked ceiling of their apartment, replaying every moment in his mind. He wasn't proud of what had happened, not in the way people feel proud of achievements. What he felt was something quieter and heavier, a responsibility. He knew that what Anaya was experiencing was fragile, and miracles, if pushed too hard, could shatter. He whispered a prayer for balance, for patience, and for the strength to keep doing what felt right. At the Kapoor mansion, sleep was impossible for Mira as well. She sat by Anaya's bed, holding her daughter's hand, afraid that if she let go, everything would disappear like a dream. For years, her world had revolved around silence, silent prayers, silent tears, silent suffering. Now that silence was finally breaking, and it terrified her. She cried not just from happiness, but from the release of years of suppressed grief. Every tear carried a memory of doctors shaking their heads, of hope rising and falling, of nights she blamed herself for things beyond her control. Vikram stood at the doorway watching his wife and daughter. He had built an empire by trusting logic and numbers, but none of that explained what was happening now. For the first time, he questioned whether success without compassion was a failure in disguise. He remembered the countless deals he had closed while his wife cried alone in hospital corridors. That realization hurt more than any financial loss ever could. The following weeks became a routine of small miracles. Arav came daily, sometimes with Ryan, sometimes alone. He spoke to Anaya about ordinary things, the smell of rain, the taste of warm tea, the way his son laughed when he was nervous. He never spoke down to her. He never rushed her. He simply believed she was listening, even when no one else had. Doctors observed carefully, documenting changes they couldn't fully explain. Anaya's muscles showed improved response. Her eyes tracked movement with intention. She reacted to emotion more than sound, more to warmth than instruction. Slowly, the medical team began adjusting their approach, blending therapy with human connection. What science had isolated, love was reconnecting. Ryan became Anaya's quiet hero. He never asked questions about her condition. To him, she was just another child who needed a friend. He read her stories, sometimes the same one over and over, never getting frustrated. When Anaya struggled to respond, Ryan simply smiled and said, "It's okay, take your time." Those words echoed deeply in Mira's heart, because no one had ever said that to her before. One afternoon, during a therapy session, Anaya managed to lift her hand toward Mira's face. It was a small movement, but for Mira, it was the weight of the universe. She broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably as she pressed her forehead against her daughter's hand. In that moment, she wasn't a billionaire's wife. She was just a mother whose child was finally reaching back. The news spread quietly at first, then faster than anyone expected. Staff whispered about the janitor who talked to a child no one could help. Some doubted it. Others watched and believed. Arav remained unchanged, still cleaning floors after sessions, still taking the bus home, still packing his son's lunch at dawn. Fame never touched him because he never reached for it. Vikram eventually invited Arav to his office. The room was massive, overlooking the city Arav cleaned every night. Vikram thanked him, his voice breaking, and offered him everything: money that could erase all struggle, comfort that could last generations. Arav listened respectfully, then declined most of it. He explained that his purpose was not to be rewarded, but to remind people that dignity and attention could heal wounds no fortune could fix. That conversation changed Vikram forever. He began restructuring his foundations, redirecting funds toward emotional care programs, parent counseling, and long-term rehabilitation centers that focused on connection, not just cures. He publicly acknowledged that without Arav, his daughter might still be lost in silence. Months passed. Anaya took her first assisted steps. Her voice, though soft, carried intention. Each word she spoke felt like a victory against despair. Mira documented everything in a journal, writing letters to the version of herself who once sat crying on a hospital floor. She wrote about hope returning in pieces, about strangers becoming family, about learning that control was not the same as love. Arif's life changed too, but quietly. He was